Gina's going to give a talk about conscious eating and how we can improve our health and our environment and our relationship to nature through being very conscious about what we decide to put in our bodies. So, without further ado, Gina Carr.
Thank you so much, Carmen, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate the great job that you guys have been doing. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, everybody. What I'm about to show you is probably the best short film that you will see all year. So if you want to come over and see this short film, that would be fantastic. Okay. All right, folks, welcome to Casa de Carne.
We'd like to start. Welcome to Casa de Carne. We take the dining experience full circle. We'd like to start.
I'll have the baby back ribs, please.
Oh, the ribs, amazing.
First time? Yes. Excellent choice. Follow me.
Good luck. We'll be after. That was awesome. I've never done a cow before.
Just tastes so much fresher.
I know, I feel like a caveman.
So Eric, what'd you think?
Well, what'd you think?
Excellent.
It's not my film, but I found it, and I think it's so powerful. I've never seen a demonstration that illustrates so clearly the connection between, oh, this beautiful plate of baby back ribs that we ordered, and oh, it's going to be so delicious, means that a sentient, intelligent, emotionally complex creature died. Didn't want to die, wanted to spend time frolicking in the fields with its friends and family, but probably lived a pretty horrific life and then was slaughtered so that someone could taste the sauce of a baby back rib. Well, what we're going to talk about today has a lot to do with the non-aggression principle. And here in the anarchist community, we talk a lot about non-aggression. I don't aggress against you, you don't aggress against me. Typically, though, most of us think of that in terms of human animals. Well, I'd like to suggest today that you don't end there, that you extend your compassion and your values of nonviolence to non-human animals with which we share our planet. Jeff Berwick talks about that we're all born anarchists, and I suggest that we're also all born vegans. Take a look at I'd like to introduce you to Chicken Boy. It's a good one too, eh? So how many of you would be like Chicken Boy or like Eric if you were forced to kill an animal in order to eat it? I guess most of us would not. I understand Mark Zuckerberg said that he was only going to eat animals that he had killed. I don't know if he's killed any to eat or not, but I just think that's another very powerful illustration of how we're taught as youngsters, be kind to animals, be kind to all living things, and yet our parents are feeding us animals. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more. It was really at Anarchadelphia, the very first one, 2015. How many of you were there? A few? Okay, fantastic. I've fortunately been to every one. It was at Anarchadelphia that I really started thinking and beginning to think about how I could apply the non-aggression principle in my life. And I was walking along the beach one day, and there was a fish that, the fishermen bring in the catch, and the people stand around, the tourists stand around and buy the fish directly from the fishermen. And this poor little fish, this guy's scaling it, it's still alive, it's flopping. It's just, and it's so heartbreaking. And at that time, I had pretty much been on a slide to stop eating animals. And I was still eating a little bit of fish. I'm like, no more, I am done. No mas, because that fish is an individual that feels pain, obviously, and wants to live. And so it was there that I thought, I'm really no better than the mafia boss who just sits back at home drinking wine and pays people to go torture and kill other living beings for himself. And so I said, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And it's been fantastic for my health. I just a couple months ago, did my very first sprint triathlon, and I've never felt better. I feel like I'm de-aging, and I've lost over 50 pounds. It's been fantastic for me. Another concept that's really important to us in this movement is the concept of freedom. But the desire for freedom is not just related to human animals. Have some fun one day Googling or DuckDuckGoing or floating. I don't know if you can look up things like this on Float yet. But cows are escaping. Animals escape on their way to the slaughterhouse. They know what's going on. And so cows escape. This one escapes, smashes through a metal fence, breaks an arm of a man trying to catch her, and swims to safety on an island on a lake. I think she was trying to get away from certain death. But what happens right now is over 150 billion individuals are slaughtered every year for human food. And we do have a choice. For years I didn't think we did have a choice, but we do have a choice. I'd like to introduce you to one of the ethicists that I follow, Colleen Patrick Goudreau.
The problem with the justification, eating meat is my personal choice, is that it presumes there's no victim, and that my personal preferences, my taste buds take precedence over anything or anyone else. And yet as a society, we have decided that certain behaviors are wrong when they cause injury or harm to another. Your right to throw your fist ends at my nose. Think about what abusive parents say when they're accused of child abuse. They protest that they can do whatever they want in their own home, that it's nobody else's business. And yet, child abuse today is illegal and punishable. When it comes to institutionalized animal abuse on animal factories and slaughterhouses, the only difference is that it's status quo, that it's the norm. But that doesn't mean it's not abuse, and that doesn't mean it's right. It just means it's systemic. A personal choice might be how I decorate my house, but a personal choice to hurt someone else, that doesn't seem like a pleasant credo to live by. It seems we need to make a different choice.
Kathleen Patrick Goudreau. You can find her at joyfulvegan.com. She's coming out with a brand new book in November. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to change the world. But she says, of course, one life matters, especially to the one whose life it is. Another ethicist that I follow is Dr. Melanie Joy, and a lot of what I'm going to share today is from her book and her work on why we love dogs, eat pigs, and wear cows, an introduction to carnism. And this is a lot from her TEDx talk that she did. And basically she boils it down that we think our food is a choice, but it's really a matter of our culture, our taste, habits, and convenience. That's what determines most of our food choices today. And many of us, we're just eating what we grew up eating, right? That's what initially our religion is, our belief in state, government, politics. We bring so many beliefs and so many habits from what we did growing up. But by the time we were old enough to say, but Mom, you said be kind to animals, and isn't this chicken the one that was running around Grandma's yard yesterday? Did Grandma kill that chicken so we could have chicken dumplings today? That's kind of one of my introductions to it many years ago back in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was perplexed, but I was told you must eat animals. So I want to take you on a little thought experiment here. And I want you to pretend that you're at a dinner party and the wine glasses are clinking and everybody's talking and having a great time, and you've all sat down, everything smells so good, and you're having what looks like a wonderful stew. It tastes like a wonderful stew, and you say to the hostess, gosh, that's so good. What is in it? To which she responds, well, the secret is in the meat. I started with 3 pounds of well-seasoned golden retriever. Well, many of you are like, yuck, huh? I think I would not take another bite, and I would probably excuse myself to try to go to the bathroom and see if I could expel that golden retriever, because who wants golden retriever with their body? Well, not me. But did the meat change? No, the meat didn't change. It's just your perception. My perception of the meat changed, not the meat. But in many countries, people eat dogs regularly. In Asia, over 20 million dogs are eaten for food. So it's a matter of convenience and taste. And some countries look at the way we eat and say, wow, I can't believe they kill pigs. I can't believe they kill cows. But they do. Their lives are miserable, just like our farmed animals, and then they're tortured and slaughtered and strung up for consumption. But again, in other countries, here we are killing cows by the billions. In other countries, people are killed in their communities by neighbors because they killed a cow. I want you to think about that. Think about how crazy this is. I'd like to introduce you to frog, because in this country, we eat a lot of chickens.
School started back in August, obviously, last year, and I would usually go to the front yard and wait on the school bus. Frog had kind of followed me to the front yard, and I said, well, okay, you follow me, it ain't no big deal. There you are. On the third day, he decided he was going to go by himself. Ever since then, he's done it every single day. And the bus is here. He could be indoors, and he will start crowing right about the time the bus is going to go. Like, I know what time it is, I know the bus is coming.
He hatched out of the egg. I mean, I was probably the first person he saw.
Well, the first person he saw was a cat. He had a cat that roosted on the eggs. Wherever Savannah was, he wanted to be wherever she was.
Well, we could go on, but Savannah and Frog do laundry together, and they do homework together, and they're friends. It's her companion animal. It's her pet, much like many of us would have our dogs or cats. I've never had a chicken as a pet. I never knew that chickens had such intelligence or emotional bonding ability, but apparently they do. And in this country, we eat a lot of pigs. Let me introduce you to this family of wild pigs. Imagine the intelligence intelligence and compassion that it takes for a family of wild pigs walking along and seeing a fish that's dying, and they know to work together as a team to nudge it back into the water? Is that amazing? It's a wild pig. And research shows that pigs have higher intelligence and higher emotional complexity and abilities than dogs. Most of us probably wouldn't eat our dogs. And I've never had a pet pig, but I know people who have, and they say they are marvelous companions. So what's going on in our brain that allows us to root for the escaped cow while we're eating a plate of steak and posting on Facebook about it? It's something going on in our brain, and Dr. Melanie Joy has labeled it carnism. So it's the invisible ideology that conditions us to eat certain animals. So folks think vegans have a philosophy, but folks who eat animals do as well, and it's called carnism. So some people are statists, some people are carnists, and some people probably even Baptists. A few Baptists out there maybe? It's such a dominant ideology that we don't even know that it's an ideology. We just think this is the way things are. So it's much like the Matrix. You know, you don't even know you're in it until somebody wakes you up and you watch a Jeff Berwick video and you're like, statism? What's statism? Oh, okay. Anarchy? Maybe I am an anarchist. The thing is, you cannot procure animal meat without violence. You gotta kill the animal. Currently, good news, they're working on things in the labs where they've just taken some serum from the animal, they pop it into the lab and they're growing it, and one day, maybe I'll eat a ribeye again. I used to love ribeye. I did not stop eating animals because I didn't like the taste. I stopped eating animals because I realized the violence that was incurred, and I learned that the health benefits are tremendous. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's what's going on there, you know, tremendous violence. So carnism is not consistent with most of our values, right? I dare say anyone in this room. Most of you have values of compassion and justice and authenticity and the desire for nonviolence. But carnism exists because of many factors, one of which is the defense mechanisms that have been put up to let it exist. And that is 1.2 billion animals are slaughtered every week. But how many of you see any of these animals? They're mostly raised in CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations, in horrendous conditions, no sunlight, nothing that's good there. But what we see is a package of meat in the grocery store or a plate of baby back ribs on our restaurant table. We don't think about the fact that here's another cow that ran away, Emily the cow, who ran away from slaughterhouse, and she actually became quite a star in her community and throughout the country. Okay, most of the videos I've shown so far, kind of fun. This one's disturbing. If you are sensitive, you probably want to close your eyes and plug your ears until you hear my voice again. It's 2 minutes.
Piglets are castrated by workers who cut into their skin and rip out their testicles. Next, the workers chop off their tails. Once pigs have reached market weight, they are sent to slaughter. At the slaughterhouse, pigs are knocked in the head with a steel rod, hung upside down, and have their throats slit. Improper stunning condemns many pigs to having their throats slit while they are fully conscious and suffering. Because male chicks don't lay eggs and do not grow quickly enough to be raised profitably for meat, they are killed within hours after hatching. The females have it even worse. Workers use a hot blade or laser to remove part of the chick's beaks. At the slaughter plant, the birds are dumped from their crates, then roughly snapped upside down into moving shackles by their fragile legs. They are then pulled across a blade which slices their throats, causing blood to pour from their necks. Calves on dairy farms are dragged away from their mothers and violently killed. The majority of today's dairy cows are confined on factory farms. Workers subject young cows to painful mutilations and amputations. unreliable stunning practices at the slaughterhouse condemn many cattle to having their throats cut and their limbs hacked off while still alive and conscious. Massive trawling nets indiscriminately drag hundreds of tons of fish and other animals along the ocean floor. They are then tossed on board where the surviving fish either suffocate or are crushed to death.
Thank you. I know that can be very hard to watch. And believe it or not, this footage this is industry practice, and some of this comes from even humane and bio operations. There are quite a number of farmers that have come out and said, this is not humane, and that's another not fun, but interesting Google search to do, is to say, humane farmers who've spoken up against the practices, that their foods were labeled humane and they said they weren't. So how does this exist? Here's another aspect, the invisibility, and then there's the myths of carnism, the justifications. Eating animals is normal, necessary, natural, and necessary, right? That's what we think. But we've heard this before. Slavery was normal, natural, and totally necessary. Male dominance, normal, natural, and necessary. Heterosexual supremacy, normal, natural, and necessary. All of those until it wasn't, right? So let's look at normal. Why doesn't traditional media tell you about this? Well, think about it, and think about the ads you see on traditional TV. Eat at McDonald's, eat at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Oh, you've got indigestion or high blood pressure from all that you've eaten. Now you need this, you need your, what's a little blue pill, like all these different things. It's Big Pharma and Big Farm that are funding the media. They can't run these the type of video that you just saw, or go undercover in these capos, because they'll lose a lot of their advertisers. Same thing with the government. Where do the political officials get a lot of their money? Big broccoli just doesn't have the kind of funds that Big Dairy and Big Cow and those other operations have. So they need to get reelected, so they need the money. And then, why doesn't your doctor tell you? Good question. Do you realize that most doctors don't have any nutrition training? Our medical system is totally focused on treat, not prevent. As Clive was saying, doctors don't make a lot of money when you're well. So what's their motivation? As well, the medical schools are funded significantly by Big Pharma. Most people don't know that back in the 60s, the doctors would be in the room with you talking about your treatment that you needed while they're smoking a cigarette. So most doctors recommended Camels more than any other cigarette. And going back to the government, let me tell you, there were over 7,000 studies done over a period of 25 years before the Surgeon General issued the very first report that said, cigarettes might be bad for you. I think it's just a matter of time, and it's really not that far away, that people will realize that diets high in meat, eggs, and dairy could be as harmful to health as smoking. Normal, again, people eat different foods. Today, in Mexico, Germany, Japan, countries that I like to visit, people eat horses. All right, necessary is the one that tripped me up and kept me from being vegan for years. But let's look at how people live in the blue zones. There are 5 areas of the world where people regularly live to be in their hundreds. And what do? Well, there's a number of things that contribute to their longevity, and they don't get heart disease or cancers or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or diabetes and those kinds of things that we get in the United States, certainly. And a big part of it is their diets are predominantly plants, 95% plus plant-based. I love this quote by Dr. Kim Williams, past president of American College of Cardiology. There are 2 kinds of cardiologists, vegans and those who haven't read the data. And if you're looking for a good present for anybody, especially yourself. This is one of the best books ever. It's called How Not to Die. And Dr. Michael Greger says that to prevent, treat, or reverse every single one of the 15 leading causes of death in the United States, eat a plant-based diet. What are those 15 leading causes of death? Well, heart disease, lung disease, brain disease, digestive cancers, infections, diabetes, high blood pressure, liver diseases, blood cancers, kidney disease, breast cancer, suicidal depression, prostate cancer, Parkinson's disease, and iatrogenic causes. That means you weren't taking care of yourself and you did end up in the doctor, at the hospital, and they did something wrong. So iatrogenic causes. How many of you have either had one of these or know somebody who has, right? Pretty much everybody. Don't you wish that your loved one that suffered and or died, that you could have said, hey, read this chapter, and maybe just by changing their diet, they could have lived longer, much longer life? I wish I'd known this when my father was suffering from cancer. He died at the young age of 67. That's us at my Harvard graduation. I wish I'd known that eating a plant-based diet would help with depression, and maybe my 18-year-old, my son, would not have taken his life when he was 18. We were big meat eaters then. I wish I'd known throughout my life, while I've struggled with being heavy, fat, overweight, the overweight girl walking down the airplane aisle and everybody's diverting their eyes because they hope that the fat girl doesn't sit next to them, right? The overweight girl that hated to see her pictures on Facebook. Anyway, I'm glad that now I'm not skinny, but I don't have to worry about my weight anymore. I eat foods that flow through me. Guess what, guys? Plants are made of fiber. Animal foods have no fiber. So where do they go? I think they kind of go into your body, not out of your body. Look at Venus and Serena Williams, dominating the courts still, beating girls, women that are half their age. Same thing with Tom Brady, multiple winner of Super Bowls. And what does Arnold Schwarzenegger say about a vegan diet? Let's hear from Maureen. Oops.
The one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials. Steak. That's what a man eats. Selling that idea that real men eat meat. Serious man food. But you got to understand, that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
I've been teaching fighting techniques to government agencies for more than 15 years. Then I got injured. Unable to teach for at least 6 months. I spent more than 1,000 hours studying science on recovery and nutrition. I stumbled across a study about the Roman gladiators.
The gladiators were predominantly vegetarian.
How could the original professional fighters be so powerful, eating only plants?
When I made the switch to a plant-based diet, I qualified for my 3rd Olympic team. I broke 2 American records. I was like, man, I should have done this a long while ago.
When I went plant-based, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive. And I actually became like a machine.
One of the biggest misconceptions in sports nutrition is that we have to have animal protein to perform at a high level. That's just not true.
Sometimes you have to do things that your competitors aren't doing.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
I think this is going to wake a lot of people up.
I was recovering better, not getting as sore. This was our best season in the last 15 years, and we had 14 guys on plant-based diets.
Ooh, I feel great, having energy. Cholesterol was 276. Today, 169.
Whoa, now you're talking.
Most guys my age can keep up with the grandchildren. My grandchildren can't keep up with me.
It's not one set of dietary guidelines for improving your performance as an athlete, another one for reversing heart disease, reversing diabetes. It's the same for all of them.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
showing Monday night, all across the country, theaters across the country. I already have my tickets. So Monday, whatever city you're in, you can still probably get tickets. I hope you can, because I hope it's sold out, honestly. But great show. It's gonna change the world, really. So, in our anarchist movement, we're constantly hearing, well, who's going to pave the roads? And of course, we have answers for that. And in the vegan movement, we're constantly hearing, where do you get your protein? So the good news is, all food has protein. Watermelon has protein. And look at this, spinach, 49% protein compared to chicken at only 23% protein. That's a shocker, right? When I first went vegan, yes, I worried and I did a little bit of extra protein powders and that sort of thing, but I don't worry about it anymore. I don't think about it. It's not an issue. And for those of you who say, well, I really think it still is because we're conditioned that way, much like we're conditioned for statism, the book Proteinaholic by Dr. Garth Davis is fantastic. 80%, how our obsession with meat is killing us and what we can do about it. Great book. And here's the even better news. The healthiest diet on the planet. Why the foods you love, pizza, pancake, potatoes, pasta, and more, are the solution to preventing disease and looking and feeling your best. Almost everybody I talk to like, oh, I eat so badly, I eat so many carbs. I'm like, carbs are not the problem, guys. A great movie, if you want to see more about the connection between the money and your health, and why you don't know, why we aren't being told the truth, is the movie What the Health. Now let's talk about natural. People will say, oh, I've got these carnivorous teeth. Well, do you really think that you could chase down an animal? If you were made to eat animals, do you think you could chase down an animal and with your bare hands and your teeth and eat it raw, and that would work well with your digestive system? No, our teeth are not, we're not obligate carnivores. Lions and your cat, if you have a cat, they're obligate carnivores. They have to eat animals, but we don't. Our digestive tract is much more like a herbivore than a carnivore as well, with our long intestines and long digestive system. And for those of you who are real concerned about the environment, which I know a lot of people are, animal agriculture is the leading cause of species extinction, ocean dead zones, water pollution, and habitat destruction. That's Richard Oppenlander. If you want more about that, you should see the movie Cowspiracy, available on Netflix and other places, but they go into detail on this. So, the final issue of carnism and why it exists and we just don't think about it, we don't know about it, is because there's just such abstractions and absurdities that go along with what we're taught. You know, racism allowed us a long time ago to do unspeakable things to other people because they were different from us. Racism and statism have allowed atrocities throughout the world, like in Vietnam, when they were told to go into the villages and whatever's walking, crawling, or growing, just kill it. Just kill it. And think of all the Asians, again, the people that are different from us, with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just blowing up hundreds of thousands of people. Well, I suggest that one day we will see speciesism the same way we're seeing these atrocities and say, my goodness, I just hope I live long enough, and I think I will, that people will look at us and say, you ate animals, live animals that were killed for you to eat? Are you kidding? That's crazy. Just the way that we look at slavery and other atrocities now. So carnism's a mentality that causes us to turn someone into something and to reduce a life to that unit of production, that bag of, that tray of meat at the grocery store, or that plate of baby back ribs. So in all social movements, there's 3 stages of truth. First, it's mocked and ridiculed. Then there's denial and violent opposition. And we're seeing this a lot right now with all the media that says, oh, those plant-based burgers are not good for you. Those plant-based soy is not good for you. Those sorts of things. And then finally we see acceptance. All right, so maybe some of you are saying, hey Gina, I'll give it a try. What do I do? Well, Terry Brock is my partner back there. The very first week the Impossible Burger was out, we stopped by a Burger King and tried that. Quite good. You can get Beyond Meat patties at your grocery store. You can get Beyond Meat burgers at a lot of different places, and all kinds of substitute foods. In your freezer, a lot of grocery stores carry from Plant Pure Nation these frozen dinners that are quite good. They're no oil, they're whole foods, they're very healthy, and there's a variety of them, so you can order them online. You can get them by the dozens, or you can find them in your grocery store, or you can just order the cookbook and cook it up yourself. That's even healthier. If you like those meal plans, the meal kits where they deliver things to you and put it all together, Purple Carrot has all plans, including a high protein line by Tom Brady. An easy substitute that I learned to do when I cook, I don't cook a whole lot, but when I do, if it said ground beef, I would use black beans. If it said shrimp or chicken or something like that, I would just open a can of beans. Because a lot of what meat is just a transmission device for sauce. I wanted the tikka masala sauce. I didn't care if it had chicken or beans, right? I want the spaghetti sauce and the taste of spaghetti. So what if it has beans instead of ground beef? It was really a very easy substitution to make. Last night at the dinner, the speaker dinner, they had a wonderful vegan meal. Thank you guys very much for doing that. Those of you who are speakers and who are vegan, please stand. What? You're vegan or mostly vegan as a speaker, okay? All right, all the rest of you who are vegan or trending vegan and mostly vegan, please stand. Keep standing, Chuck. Wow, a lot of you guys. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Thank you. So look around the room and you see who those people are. Ask them, what do you do? How do you eat? Right at 50% of the dinners last night for the speaker dinner were vegan. Yes. This is one of my favorite apps, Happy Cow. I use it all the time. I've used it several times on this trip. It helps you find vegan and veg-friendly restaurants that are near you. This is how I found yesterday Palladium. It's Philadelphia Eagles sort of a restaurant that's just right around the corner. It's a sports bar, but on the menu they have a nice little vegan section. We had the vegan chicken wings and we had a vegan pizza, so it's quite good. It's less than a 5-minute walk. At Hip City Veg, which has several locations in Philly and DC and other places, they have fantastic burgers, a great Philly cheesesteak and a smokehouse burger. So Hip City Veg I highly recommend, especially for those of you that are based in this area. All right, so you're vegan, trending vegan, and let me just say that it's not all or nothing, and vegan is not just a way to eat. The vegan philosophy basically means that I'm going to live my life as best I can without doing harm to any living being. Does that mean that if I'm driving along and my car runs over insects or a snake or something, that I'm not vegan anymore? I didn't lose my veganity. No, I did not lose my veganity. That just means that I'm still doing the best I can. I did not intend to run over the snake. I'm doing the best I can, and that's what trending vegan and being vegan is all about. You're doing the best you can to cause the least harm. If you'd like to join my free Facebook group, I know Facebook's kind of statist and not real popular with this crowd, but we do have some good discussions in there about ways to eat healthier, and we don't do a lot on the ethics part in there right now, but we do a lot about the ways to eat healthier and to incorporate more plants into your diet. And that's another thing, just incorporate more plants into your diet. Oh, here's another tip. Let me just go back to another tip for if you want to make the switch. Again, it's not all or nothing. You don't necessarily need to walk out here today and say, I'm never going to eat another bite. What some people do is they'll take it in phases. So 1 week, cut out cows. The next week, cut out pigs. The next week, cut out chickens. The next week, cut out fish. The next week, cut out eggs. The next week, cut out dairy. That's a phased approach that works for a lot of people, so everything's not quite so drastic. And you learn about the substitutions and how easy it is to make them. So in closing, I want you to remember that every bite you take is either fighting disease or feeding it, helping the environment or hurting it, reducing violence, increasing violence, or reducing violence. And I love this quote by Martin Luther King, that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And that's why I came here to speak about this topic, because it's very important to me. And if I can help any one of you, and I know there's several over the years, because I've spoken at a few of these events, who've told me that I've helped them and that they've been able to get off their diabetes medicine and off the heart blood pressure medicine and all those things, and they're happier, much happier, because they're not hurting our animals. And Gary Yourofsky's a fantastic animal activist, and he says, good people don't talk about nonviolence. They practice it every single minute of every day. And with that, I thank you very much.